think we are short 2 people, but I have not heard from Emily, so I'm assuming she's showing. Brett said he would be late. Motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second, Paul second.
Oh, I did, okay. All in favor of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Did we get the minutes?
We did not, I left my flash drive at home. Sorry, I
Okay.
apologize, let's get sent out tomorrow.
So we're gonna go on to public comments. Just to keep this under control this month.
Emily is here.
What I would suggest is if public have comments, to do it during the comment period instead of during the discussion periods, just to keep that timely. So public comment time would be this period, so public comments. I know we have a couple people. Anybody else besides public comments? All right, you're ready.
My name is Ann Buchek. I live at 2301 Legion Avenue in Lake Elmo, Minnesota. I was disappointed to not see a more complete understanding of how the money was spent in the 2017 year. And I don't know if you want me to do this now or bring the questions up later, but I'm concerned since the city council majority has no problem in raising my local taxes, and the mayor says by 22%, and my county taxes will go up as well since I'll have to pay for the Lake Elmo Library under the county system. Now, how will any shortfall be covered? Does the library really have to pay the $150,000 promised by the city administrator? Will the library board have a bake sale to cover the promised monies? Now, the motion made at the last month, and I'm sorry you don't have the minutes because I like to be verified for what I'm saying, but the last meeting you were asked for a clear understanding of the library's finances. The report received, that you all have in your packet tonight, is lacking or needs more explanation in some areas, I think. I hope that Nate will be able to answer some of these questions since he designated himself to be in charge of the finances. Some of the questions I have 8. Number 1, what was the carryover or reserve balance starting January 2017? Was it $174,540?
This is comment period, so just
Okay.
keep going.
2, there is a $941 interest earning in 2016. Nothing's being shown for the year 2017. 3, what is the balance for the vacation paid for in 2017? How much needs to be paid since the library is closing in somewhat middle of the year for employment, but I don't know when everybody started and ended. 4, what legal services were rendered in 2017? It's showing $4,210, and when was the voucher approved for that? 5, what does the contract services cover? Previously, it covered cleaning services and snow removal, that sort of thing. The expense has dropped dramatically, and I'm wondering why. There was no payment made in November. Has the building been cleaned, or are they paid quarterly, or I don't know what's going on. 6, there is a repair item of $60,000, $457. What does this cover? The bathroom repair was approximately $99,000 or $100,000. Where is that item located? Also, how was the sewer assessment and hookup paid? The new amount for this month for that is $60,000, $457, hi Sue, versus $59,862 from the October statement. Number 7, what does the miscellaneous expense of $33,755 cover? And number 8, there was a fund balance in the last report in your October thing that you all got. Fund balance of $53,617 as of 12/31. Now, I'm now assuming that it meant for 10/31/17, I'm not sure. And the new balance shows a deficit of $13,938. Now, I assume that that means as of 12/7/2017, but maybe it's really the expected deficit on 12/31/2017, I'm not sure. Is that really a deficit if the library started off with a reserve balance from the previous year? It appears the revenue for the new half has already been paid, as you can see in what you received. It's unfortunate that so many questions have been left unanswered at such a critical time for the library. I hope that you will look at your finances tonight, look at the 8 items I've mentioned, and I hope that you answer these, because I would hate to see the library not pay what they're supposed to pay.
Thank you. Sue, we're going to have public comment all just during right now instead of during the meeting. Is there something that you have?
What are we gonna do with what she said?
Judy has them down. We'll talk about it. We will talk about them. We have them written down. So we'll talk about them then. I mean, I don't.
I had a concern, because I do come to some of the library programs, and I was wondering if anybody has been able to communicate to anybody, you know, what the status of that going to be. Like, they got the Cafe Philo, and they've got Tai Chi, and knitting, and
Yep.
and all these other things, and what is how has that been communicated to the people that run those specific areas, and how does that play into the entire session? And what's the other? And what specific programs are gonna be going forward, or what are gonna be, you know, done away with? Does anybody have any idea on that?
We'll have these during the director's report. We'll ask these to make during the. Yeah, that makes sense.
I have some other things, but, yeah, you know, the space, how are they gonna divvy up the spaces, and who's gonna be able to go when and where? That's all I have for now. Well, I'm sure I'll think of something else, but I just came in, I'm sorry I was late.
No, no problem. Thank you.
I didn't see the agenda until just today.
Anybody else in the back? Sarah?
Thank you. Well, I don't have any questions. I just have some lovely things to say about everybody who served on the library board. And I came here tonight to thank the 17 individuals who have served on the Lake Elmo Public Library Board since late 2011. And I'm going to read them off. Mike Pearson, Steve DeLapp, Judy Gibson, Sarah Linder, Jenna Weiss, Paul Reiber, Rosemary Myers, Marjorie Williams, Renee Murray, Ann Buchek, Brett Emmons, Justin Boyer, Margot Salani, Julie Fleetfoot, Tom DeGree, Barry Weeks, and Emily O'Connor. This has been a big project, everybody, and there have been some amazing highs and some very trying lows in the process of running this library. And I would especially like to salute a couple of groups in the 17. I'm thinking that not a single person on the board stepped up to serve on the board to improve their own health. And since we all stepped up then, obviously, for service, I would like to confer upon all of you with the power vested in me by the City of Lake Elmo and the Lake Elmo Library Board, which is absolutely none, the title of Library Board Members Emeritus. And from my handy-dandy American English dictionary, emeritus, retired, but retaining an honorary title corresponding to that held immediately before retirement. For example, Professor Emeritus. It comes from the Latin verb emeritus, to earn by service. And boy golly, has not working in the library board been a message of service. And so thank you all for that. I particularly salute the current board members, and if I've got it right, they are Steve DeLapp, Judy Gibson, Paul Reiber, Brett Emmons, Margot Salani, Julie Fleetfoot, Tom DeGree, Barry Weeks, and Emily O'Connor, because I'm certain that these last 6 months have been especially tumultuous. I would also like to read my notes for a second. Take a moment to call out Steve DeLapp for being the one and only board member who just served on this library board for its entire lifetime. He's one of the original board members, and here he is at the end. Some of the rest of us have been around a long time at various times, overlapping with each other. Good going, Steve. Yes, we should clap.
Sarah deserves special attention too for having initiated many programs that wouldn't have taken place and made many positive contributions to the library.
Oh, that's very nice, but I am sure that almost every one of us fits into that category. No applause would be necessary on my behalf. To the original board members and the alternates, we have a few folks who had the unsatisfying job job of serving as alternate on our library board for a period of time. They were expected to come to all the meetings and enjoy all the angst and not get to vote or say anything. So hats off to the alternates and to the original board members who might, as I do, occasionally feel the little pangs of engagement creep. I have a special message. And when I say engagement creep, I mean this. I'm the accountant and you hire me to do your tax return. And then we have a few more conversations. And before we know it, I'm auditing something and I'm doing a whole lot more work. And we kind of snowballed from this little project to this giant project. And that's what we did here with our lovely library. Let's take a minute and remember when we withdrew from the county system, we wanted a library in Elmo. Along the way, we came up with some really grand ideas and we did things even better than just a library. But what we started out to accomplish, we have accomplished, and don't ever forget that. We accomplished it. We have a library like Elmo, and that's fabulous. So in terms of the pangs of engagement creep, let's remember where we started. And I'm going to close by retelling the story of a retired Roman statesman. Now, how many of you knew I was a classics major in college? Retired statesman Cincinnatus. The city of Cincinnati was named after Cincinnatus. He was pulled out of retirement by the city fathers of Rome when his community needed him. There was a little war going on. And they said, hey, Cincinnatus, come help us. And what we're taught in Latin class is he put down his plow and he picked up his sword. And that's what he did. And he went and he fought the war. Apparently it took 15 days. Conquered what needed to be conquered. And when the problem was solved, he laid down his arms and returned to his farm and picked up his plow. The job having been accomplished. And Cincinnatus is just one guy, right? But he lived 2,500 years ago. And he is still honored and remembered as a hero and a legend. So what you guys have done here, the service you have brought, you've stepped up, done what needed to be done, and now you're going to be able to step back. And I just want everybody to feel really good about what's been accomplished here. So, yes. To the board members
Hair is included in that
I put my own name.
tenfold.
Thank you, people, for contributing to the public comments. Let's move on to the director's report, and we have a few other things we're going to talk about during the director's report, so let's start that.
Okay. To begin with, I'd like to start with Sue Dunn's question. One of the things that Washington County is able to do better than we have been able to do is they have more sophisticated meeting room booking software than just the Google Calendar we use. As a result of that, they're able to designate specific areas for reserving, more specific areas for reserving, like the front coffee room for knit night, for example, or other areas of the lot, like, or the children's room for story time, as well as the meeting room. So I have provided a list of all of the contact information for all of our the people in charge of all of our recurring programs, and Martha Reel will be will be the manager of the Lake Elmo and Valley libraries. We'll be in contact with each of those contacts to make sure that there is not a that if they want to maintain the services that the programs that they're continuing, that they'll be able to do so, or if they'd like to move to a different time, accommodations can also be made. So that is absolutely being handled.
This might be an appropriate time to talk about the Tai Chi classes, which have moved out of the library. They're now being held at Arbor Glen and at St. Paul's Lutheran Church in Stillwater. But the reason that we moved out was not because of Washington County, but because we have so many students. I had 56 people in class one day. And 56 people do not fit in this room, standing up and moving. So thank you very, very much. We've been able to develop the program over the years, and frankly, I'm kind of proud of that.
So, just to reiterate, all of the programming is continuing, or we don't know that yet?
It is largely up to the people who are coordinating those programs. So like, we can't make Cafe Philo keep going if they don't want to. But in terms of things like story time, you know, the same thing with knit night or a lot of our volunteer-driven programs will continue if
the person wants to do it.
yes, thank you. And as far as staff programs, yeah, they're all the staff-run things are gonna continue, so, that's.
And those people who run the community-led programs are being aware that they have to go online and book up the rooms, that's what you're saying?
Well, actually, they will probably be booked for them,
Okay,
you know, just because, you know, a thing like Cafe Philo, we know meets, you know, Wednesday mornings, that's really easy, you know, if you can just know, and just like you would on a Google Calendar, you can just book, you know, put it in once and just say, going forward, and it'll just be automatically in the rotation, so, that's,
Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts are the ones that I was thinking are.
yeah, well, and they're loosey-goosey, you know, and I mean, one of the challenges we've had with Boy Scouts and Girl Scout groups, and our library is not unique in this, is, that they don't always communicate when they're gonna meet at the library. They pretty much wanna, usually almost every Boy Scout or Girl Scout group wants to reserve the library every Tuesday. And they might only meet one Tuesday a month or 2 Tuesdays a month, but then, but a lot of times they might be going on a field trip or another excursion, so it's just, you know, that's, but again, that's not a unique.
Nate, it's far worse with the Parks Commission, because people, the Oakdale Athletic Association has limited fields, so they just book Pebble Park and Lake Elmo, and it just shuts it down for the city for the summer.
Yeah.
And I think some of that's been changed recently, but it's real common.
Okay.
There's no penalties, so why not just do it?
Cafe Philo met today, they're expecting to continue into the new year.
Yeah. And,
so before we move on, Sue, was your question answered?
Yeah, as long as people have some kind of avenue that it's been communicated to them what the process is.
Okay,
That's kind of what my follow-up was gonna be, and maybe we can kind of keep that in mind and sort of at the end of the meeting revisit this, but my feeling is that maybe the library patrons don't have all this information and probably have questions like this, and we should just sort of think about the things that we need to communicate to them, because this is a big change that they're gonna be sitting there going, how is this gonna affect me? And whether or not and how we would communicate with our patrons.
well, and I
kind of put this on there.
wholeheartedly share that with you,
Probably
and,
some other things, but-
you know, these are conversations that we have with our patrons every single day, you know, they come
I
in.
understand, but
And,
that's a one-on-one individual conversation about a specific question. But, you know, how many members do we have now, our patrons? Like, it's 3,000-ish or something. There's no way we've gotten to them
Sure.
all, so just thinking
Yeah.
about whether or not we need to do a mailing, a mass email to them, whatever that might be, let's just revisit that at the end. I'm just gonna put programming down as one item that might need to be communicated, and maybe it will come up
You know,
with
that
several others.
this is probably the last 2 weeks when we're legally able to send a communication to everybody's email address we have, because we'll have to give that up. And we've said we won't communicate with people unless they authorize it, but this is kind of a special situation.
How about something in the fresh?
We can put some, I mean, I was thinking,
But it's in there anyway, because nobody reads it.
what do you mean, what's in there anyway?
Well, the programs are in fresh.
Yes,
Every
but I
week.
mean, this message is
But
what
the
she's
people in
talking
West
about.
Lakeland don't get it, the people in Oakdale and Stillwater, they don't get it.
well, they're gonna, I mean, part of it is the people on our own side of Lake Elmo are just gonna have to get it when they come here. And we're not gonna be able to send out to anybody and anywhere that's outside of
If
Lake
they were
Elmo.
Cafe Philo.
But then they'll have to come and.
If they were Cafe Philo this morning,
I
or
think there's-
last
if
Wednesday,
they're-
you'd think they'd know.
Yeah, if they're able to participate in Cafe Philo, I think they're thinkers that are gonna figure it out.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's hope that they have the problem-solving skills to figure it out. That's the whole job of that group, right? So,
Oh, boy.
let's hope.
You give us a whole lot more credit than I would.
All right.
I have a suggestion. how about if I write something up, which includes things like how you get a Washington County card and, you know, what's probably gonna go on, I mean, just kind of
Just a
a
little fact
summary
sheet.
of all what you're saying, and we can put it on Fresh, we can send it out if there's a way to send it to people, we can post it, we can have Rosemary take it around to all of the places that are posted. That's about 30+ businesses in the area. So how about that?
I like it.
I don't think we need a motion for that.
Okay,
It just sounds-
okay, so I'll write it up and then
Did-
I'll run it by you and
I
we'll
just
go
think
back
we
and
should
forth.
email our people though, this isn't a,
No, absolutely, we're talking
So,
about,
yeah,
I don't
don't
think we
email
need a
us
motion for
before?
Judy
yeah.
to write it up and then just do it. Got it.
Mhm, yeah, I'll do it, okay.
All right,
The question is though, about the library emails.
Yeah, I mean,
Are we supposed to be able to use
we're
that?
not. That-
Yeah, no.
So, but I mean, we do have some email lists that we can certainly use to
Yeah, okay.
communicate with, but in terms of through, email addresses collected for circulation purposes.
You can't.
Well, it certainly would be appropriate to send one email out saying,
with the list of,
well,
Yeah.
just
It's
saying,
not a
it's been nice to,
solicitation, it's
the
not a
library has enjoyed
invitation.
serving you for the last 5 years. Here's what's gonna be happening in the future. Here's how you can participate and,
It's
you think that would be just automatic?
no,
If
it's
it's
not,
legal.
it's not allowed, let's put it that way, it's not allowed, because the law says you can only use those for, what is it, personal things in the library, or, it's very,
Well,
very narrow.
we asked everybody when they filled it out.
Not for a
No, we
library card.
didn't.
You do absolutely did not.
We didn't?
No, you did
No,
not.
no.
That is a separate, when you ask for people's email addresses for promotional reasons, that is wholly different than getting a library card.
Because when I was doing it, maybe 5 years ago, I did a few of them,
And you should not have.
well, that's under Washington County rules. We said to them, do you mind getting updates from the library? And if so, we mark something. I thought that continued.
No.
You remember that, Paul?
check box. Well, I mean, let's just, I think, you
I
know,
don't-
Judy comes up with some type of, and then you guys figure out a way
And
to
then I'll
communicate
just,
it.
we can pull all our lists together and send it to as many people as we
Yeah,
can.
but I mean, I would like to say I deal with this a lot, this is not a promotional email, this is
I
not
understand what
qualified
you're
under
But
that
still,
law.
you're, but it's still.
Well,
not-
no, the law is just narrow, the only way you can use this is for the personal
Like your
benefit
book
or
came
something
in, or-
of the, yeah, of the library services, it's not
Say
the
that
personal thing,
for the
like the.
personal benefit of
Well, why
the
don't, I mean,
library.
I mean, Judy's just guessing what it says, and
Mhm.
but she and Nate can get together and figure out exactly
If
what
they
it says.
sue us, we won't
I
exist,
think
so it
this
really doesn't
qualifies,
matter.
like say the library hours
Get
change.
somebody
No,
else.
So why don't you
it
just
isn't.
figure out
I'll
what
find
it
it
is?
Show up on a
I'll
day
find
and they
it.
be closed.
I'll
Is it
find
only
it
for
for you
an
and
overdue
send it
book?
to you. What?
Is it only for an overdue book? What is the purpose of
That
an
is
email?
what's, yeah, your book is in, your book is ready, come pick up your book, that type of stuff.
Bring our book.
But let's,
Yeah,
we'll move on to
I'll
the
look
rest
it
of
up, I'll
that.
send
So
it.
I have a
Post
question
it on
on,
the Facebook and the website.
on the administrative piece, Nate.
Yes.
I was into talking to Shelley this weekend.
Yep.
And I'm concerned about specifically Shelley and Betty pay. So they're gonna work till the end of the month.
Yep.
As Lake Elmo Library, employees.
Yep.
So when are they, seeing we won't have the checkbook, or how will we make sure that they're gonna get a check? And then what about the mid-January check from us? How is that gonna work?
We are going to submit, the last payroll, this is actually, the calendar worked out perfectly for this. The last payroll date, of 2017 is December 31st, Sunday, December 31st. So, final timesheets will be submitted the last weekend in December. And Betty and Shelley will start New Year's Day with a paid holiday as Washington County employees. So,
So they're gonna get their final check
they will get their final check on January 4th.
from Lake Elmo, that's
From
right.
Lake Elmo.
And then when will their first check from the library come?
I don't know, but I mean, their first pay period starts on New Year's Day. So they get paid every 2 weeks, they will,
And is there a 2-week lag?
yeah,
Even
So-
if the county's on a different payroll cycle, it doesn't matter, even if they start technically mid-payroll for the county, the
Right.
first day of work for the county is January first, is
Correct.
what Nate's saying.
But I'm saying, is Betty gonna have to wait a month before she gets a check? So she'll get one at the end of the year, and then not one for a full month.
That's up to the county, we have
Yeah.
nothing to do
We
with it.
can't do anything
When they're,
about
I
that.
don't
That's
know,
irrelevant.
know if they pay their employees once a month or
no,
twice
it's
a month.
every
Every
2
other
weeks,
week,
but,
so
yeah.
you'd think that she'd get one. and
If they
she's-
pay their employees every 2 weeks, then there's no way she'll have to wait a month.
But even if there was, there would nothing we would be doing. We wouldn't be
But I'm
writing,
just saying, I'm
giving her a
answering his
2-week
question.
salary.
Okay.
If we know they pay them every 2 weeks, then she won't have to wait a month.
Well, she would have to, because the first 2 weeks would be the check that would be paid out at the end of the month. Like, she'd work the first 2 weeks, those payroll would be put in, and then you get paid.
Well, that's if you do it that way.
But I mean, it doesn't matter.
But
So we're
Tom,
just,
If I work for a month at
no,
3
Steve, I
AM,
don't,
and on the 31st, I got a check for that month,
I
effective
have
that
80
day.
people on payroll, I understand payroll, but I think that,
You don't have to have a delay.
but I'm just, maybe the county does, that's the question. My main concern is just whether it is an issue or not. If it's not an issue with anybody, that she has to wait a month, that's what we all consciously know.
I see that,
But, all right, why don't you go down with the rest
I
of
do
the,
have a question about the transition week where the library is going to be closed. Was that week for staff to, staff in Washington County to meet together? Will there be staff here? Will the library actually be closed? What's happening that week?
Well, the library will be closed that week. Washington County, Betty, Shelley, and I will have opportunities to train, and job shadow at Washington County libraries that week. Also, one of the things that's coming before the board tonight is, agenda item 8B, is, in one of the, Washington County discovered lead, in our former restrooms, and would like to use that period of time to,
Understood,
update
but
that.
my question is different than that. It had to do with staff. Understanding is that we were closed that week because it was the week that was least used by the library, so that staff could acclimate themselves to what's going on in transition with Washington County, and it doesn't sound like anything's going to be happening here.
well, they're gonna be,
They're gonna be
we
training
talked
other
about that last time,
You
so.
did say that they would have an opportunity to, are they scheduled, is there,
Yep.
time,
Yeah, they're all set. So, so Betty and Shelley will be able to train for their full work week at I think, off the top of my head, I can't remember which one's going to which library for training, but they both are. I am also, I think I'm just gonna take the Friday, for training at Woodbury. I'm more familiar with Washington County circulation software than they are, so I need less training, and then also it's a chance for me to use some vacation time so the city has to pay out less. So,
that would have been nice to hear on Friday note. But, okay, thank you.
But we heard it a month ago, we heard that,
Not,
but.
not to that extent.
well, and really, these are details that, we're working this, through this process, day by day. More decisions are made, more information comes in, that's how this is going.
Okay, thank you.
Sometimes you just plain wing it.
Yeah, well, and really, there's a fair amount of winging it, because,
Yeah.
nobody does this. This is
Yeah.
a thing that, nobody practices merging libraries.
So does anybody else have any other questions on the director's report that you're all able to read? I just wanted to verify also that the pay scale for Shelley and Betty, it's not gonna be below what we're paying them?
No, Betty's pay scale is going to be right at what she is currently at, and, Shelley's getting a raise and an increase in job title.
And Nate?
Nate is getting a raise and a demotion, so.
That's a little bit of a mixed message, isn't it? And Nate is okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
No other from the director's reports, so library financials.
the lead thing, do we have to do anything with that?
That comes down, that's on
Okay.
8B.
No,
You
I,
know what, can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
I would love it if the library board would get a final set of, I don't know if you'd call them statistics or whatever, to kind of close the loop. Some of us keep files and different things of stuff, and, you know, kind of that, when we turned it over to the library, where were we, is something that I know some of us will be interested in having. We don't know what the future's gonna bring, and we just wanna know that stepping off point and have it kind of memorialized. So, you know, how many library card members, or how many did we have, you know, on
Yeah.
December
Oh,
31st?
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, those sorts of things, and maybe just circulate it to us so that
Okay.
it is memorialized and we
Yeah,
know.
and those are,
You know, the finish your table here, for
yes,
example,
absolutely.
programming numbers for the year and those sorts of things.
Yeah, and we're, I am tabulating those to the very end because
Yeah.
they get filed in our, were we continuing as an independent library, we would be filing an annual report. And, but instead, this year, our statistics will be folded into Washington County.
Okay.
So,
I just during that last week, you know,
Yeah.
you're technically still working for
Yeah,
us, so
right.
I think it's a legitimate.
no,
You
I'm
know, I'm
happy
just saying
to
the
do it.
county shouldn't be, there
Right.
shouldn't be stepping on any toes, and
Nope,
maybe during that last week, that's something you could send us, because we won't have any circulation or programming or numbers, so you should be able to cut it off when we close, and then during the midweek of that next week, hopefully send something out, so.
I don't know what questions people had about the financials, but I know one of the things was the confluence.
I think that's-
Bill. Is that
That's
coming up?
coming up.
Okay,
So,
never mind.
right now, let's look over the specific things, and maybe if some of the AMP questions could come in. If we could answer those during this piece, during the financials,
Mhm.
I think those would be, wouldn't we to answer those?
Yeah, the carryover from 2017, that's what's gonna be wrapped up at the end here, it sounds like. Like what we started off at the beginning, at the end. I can answer one of these, the $33,000 is Washington County cards. And I just put that under miscellaneous, I noticed that, I thought, what is that? $33,000, and I figured that's what it was, because it wasn't anywhere else in there. Legal services, I don't really have an answer for that
We
Can you just
one.
ask Nate, so
We
we all
have
hear?
never
Yeah.
voted for any
Um,
legal services.
$2,000 something for legal services?
I believe that is associated with the agreement, for rejoining Washington.
We didn't authorize that money, it has to be voted on by us, by law.
I don't know what to tell you, Steve.
Well,
I
I mean, that's just basic law. We
didn't,
can-
I didn't.
Every
I don't-
little voucher that comes in for
May I
$10, we have to
speak,
vote
Steve?
on.
It's okay, I never received, I don't believe I received an invoice for that,
No,
so. yeah.
Electric bill and all that stuff just gets paid, you know.
but but that's been authorized. We don't, I mean, I've gotten, Justin Boyer has mentioned to me legal fees, and I said, no, we have no legal fees. Well, suddenly, maybe he found out we had $2,000 worth or whatever this is. We never knew it. $4,000.
So I think what the question is that there's, and you know what would be really helpful, Nate, because I think this is just gonna be the tip of the iceberg here on the questions. Would it be possible to take just a 3-minute recess, or did somebody bring a copy? I thought the detail that we asked for was gonna be in here, my fault.
This thing?
The one that was
Trial
emailed to
balance?
us, yeah, so we can
Yes.
actually see the detail, is this one invoice, is this several, you know, we asked for that
Uh-huh.
detailed general ledger. So while Judy's looking at that,
Well, do you want me to try to find the,
just try to find legal services that account,
okay,
and I can do it if you're,
okay.
but my thing is, whether or not they were vouchers that were, the library board approved, or just allocations made by the city, I think is the question here.
Right.
And
I think it is accurate to say they have to come through the library board for approval. So
Right, and I, yeah.
maybe keeping a list of things that you need to go back to the city on.
Here's the
Um,
legal services.
Okay, so is it
Right here.
many things, or is it, so yeah, so it looks like it's several different dates, March, April, May, June, July, and August. Kennedy and Graven charges, so I'm sure it's work from Sarah Sensala, the city attorney. None of which does the library board feel was on our voucher list, is what I think the thing is. So Nate will take that back to the city.
Do you get any other good questions that we should go down?
Okay.
The question is, what else did the city charge us for that we don't know about?
Well, if you looked at the financials, it would have all been on there.
Okay, so there was, the
Probably
question about
focus engineering.
contract services.
Probably this here. Probably
got a detail
engineering
on that.
services above that. You think we can match up to that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Library site improvements, library, engineering services.
Okay. Well,
So these are things that Nate's all bringing back to the city. Okay.
Can we just check with Ann to see if her list is covered? I know you wanted
Well,
public
we're-
comment then.
We're not done yet.
We're
Okay,
just starting to go through the questions, so hopefully we'll get them.
okay.
I actually didn't get number 6 very good. The carryover, interest,
I think
941.
rent
So
interest is usually out of that year's end, I don't know. I mean,
so what would the interest was for?
Probably, usually it's interest for what, for our reserve balance, that's just,
Oh, I see,
You know.
sure, okay.
um,
Things that are in a savings account.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, question about vacation pay?
Yep, as with any, full-time employee at the city of Lake Elmo, at the termination of employment, as is spelled out in the city employee handbook, accrued vacation time is paid out. That's totally normal and is, yeah.
The accounting question here though is, do we know so all employees had a balance as of 12/31/16 that was accrued for?
Well, it's just me, but.
Oh, was it? Okay, so
Yeah,
they
because
didn't-
the part-time staff
Yep.
do not accrue vacation.
And so the only amount that will hit expense on this year's financials is the amount over and above that. So, you know, you use, sometimes you end up higher, sometimes you end up
Right.
lower. So do you know what your balance was on 12/31/16?
So right now, it depends on how much I'm able to use at that week after Christmas, but, right now I have, I think it's 161, vacation hours.
And do you know what
For
you had at
PTO.
12/31/16?
Uh,
Because that's the big question.
okay.
If you had, so example, you know, if you had 160 hours at 12/31/16, we'd be looking at 0 expense for that payout. Even
Right.
though you're gonna get a physical
Yeah,
check,
right.
it's already been booked.
Off the top of
Oh,
my
I
head,
see.
I don't know, it's probably,
So
in-
that's what, yep.
it is probably in the 120 area,
Okay.
I
So
would
there
say.
may be a, I mean, and we
Yeah.
can check this out, but there may be a 40-hour, 1-week additional expense that the library will see.
Yep.
It's the change in that balance.
It was, but it would be really in last year's budget, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. I think the big question here in this library financial item on our agenda is trying to figure out where we're gonna end up, right? And so, if you look at salaries, for example, and you try to say, if this is year-to-date through December 7th, what's gonna be the additional amount?
Sure.
And we were thinking there's gonna be a 160-hour payout for Nate, which is a month's salary. I'm trying to say, no, that's not what it will be. It will be the change in his, so some of that's already been booked. Shelley and Betty, did they get vacation?
No, they don't,
So it's just you,
it's
okay.
just me.
So,
And that's, for part-time staff, that's consistent with the employee handbook.
sure, no, that makes sense. And so would there be one more payroll or two?
There is going to be,
I don't know if you
there's basically two with the second one on January 4th. So that
That'll
last,
get accrued.
yeah,
So there's 1 month more salary to be paid from what we see on our financials,
Yeah.
plus Nate's vacation payout amount. Is what- okay.
Can I back up and ask a question about interest? I'm seeing here, because I know that was one question that was brought up, we have 941 for 2016 and nothing at all for 2017. What changed?
no,
That's the end of the
It
year.
occurs at the end of the
it
year.
accrues at the end of the year. So
So we don't have anything,
we don't
anticipated doing?
know that,
Okay.
yeah.
It might be something similar, I think is our best
Yeah,
guess.
Okay.
I would think.
But you have one more
I'm
month
gonna-
of health
I'm
and
gonna guess
dental.
that the city merges our money, probably not properly, but merges it with the city's set-aside funds. And what they do is they buy CDs that expire in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, so that we get a little bit more than 0.1% interest. The 6-month CD gets something. And we won't need the money for 6 months, so why not get that? And that's how the city does it, and they probably merge ours with that so that we get a little extra money. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had $900 last year, we'd have had nothing.
Kathy said we did.
Pardon?
Kathy said we did. That's right.
Okay.
One of the other questions here was contract services. Did we talk about that?
So contract services, our cleaning service has been let go. So we've been kind of taking care of that internally. And we also have, part of our contract services is our IT service too, so, which is pretty much done now. And the last bill is in this month's vouchers.
Have they had a lot of problems with our news computers and stuff? We spend like $500 a month for it, don't we? On retainers.
Oh, you know, it's mostly when most of our IT problems have been network oriented, you know, with problems with the Wi-Fi, things like that, kind of troubleshooting. It's not necessarily, oh, there's a problem with, and part of what we pay for too is, that service was a backup of library files too, and internet filtering, so, and a firewall. So, I mean, you're not just paying for support, you're getting a lot of things for that, but yeah, like the computers are fine.
Okay,
And you don't think we've used them in December, IT?
Oh,
I mean, I see this bill on our vouchers is
Yeah.
for November.
right, that our service contract ends on, December 22nd. So, that's when, so we're covered up until that date, with that,
so the voucher will cover it up until that date?
Yeah.
Okay.
And after that,
we're on our own for a day.
oh, I get it, okay,
Yeah.
that's not so bad.
No.
Wouldn't that be in information technology line item, in your opinion, Nate, the IT?
I think that it's just got folded in with that one, but yeah, you're right, it should be there.
Okay. So what is in the contract services? Let's just take a peek.
Yeah, it's the cleaning crew, that,
Software, collection. Collections.
Okay, there we go, so now we're starting at, we're getting close.
Legal services.
Yep, should be the next one.
Okay, here, contract services. Okay. There was billboard photography, architect fees. Maybe 12, I don't know what that is. It was on, in May.
Yep.
Confluence, this was I was gonna say this was the only place that I saw that we paid Confluence anything. And it was for the parking lot,
And it was
Bid
only
publishing.
$358.
yeah, parking lot bid publishing. And, well, that's a void. That's it. No, 14,
Yep,
50.
here.
I should have done this a little bit better.
Nope, and then we're about at the total, besides $200 for Minnesota Department of Commerce storyteller fee, so.
That was?
Doesn't look like any of those are VT things, nor was
No.
cleaning ever in this account.
No, it doesn't look like
The cleaning must fall somewhere else.
I think Nate said they were handling it
The
internally.
whole year?
No, but,
it. No.
where did it
Yeah, so it
fall?
must
She's
be
not seeing it
some
as a
other-
line item prior.
No.
And it's not your fault, Nate, because the
Yeah.
city's changed their
So-
chart of accounts with this new finance director, so
Oh,
things are in different
yeah,
areas.
so you're saying it's not in contract
Nope.
services? Oh, boy.
I'm trying to find it.
Repairs and maintenance building perhaps. We'll see, we'll just keep
We'll just keep kind of
going in order, so keep your page there.
That's used.
Yeah, it's Town and Country is the name
Well,
we're
we
looking
have
Yeah,
another
remember,
telephone.
here it is. Repairs, maintenance, building.
Okay.
Okay, so what did you wanna know about it?
Just where it was, which item it was put under, or which.
Repairs, maintenance, building.
So we'll probably have additional
February.
telephone expense before the end of the year,
for.
1 month.
Yeah,
So if this is 12 months worth, I mean, rough, divide by 12 and add another $150.
Yeah, this is very interesting
Yeah.
list.
Mhm.
Plunkett pest control, and wasp control.
yeah,
That's under that category.
Internet as well, we would have another month of internet.
we should, yep. Internet, telephone,
Insurance, is that paid up front or both
for-
monthly?
for the building or health insurance?
The building.
The building, I believe, is upfront, so that should pretty much, that should be it.
Let's take a look.
So Julie, are you gonna, did you wanna go through each of these pieces, or did you do them prior?
I didn't do them prior, I
Okay.
thought the packet would include a projection from,
Okay.
you know, so I guess we kinda have to do it.
What is your question?
Where are we gonna end up?
Oh, I don't know if we have enough information right now.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
That's why we scheduled this meeting though,
But
kinda.
it is a moving target too, I mean,
But there wasn't even an attempt.
But I mean, how close do you want it? I mean, and the fact is, if we have less, if we spend more, then the city just has to pay the Washington County more. So I'm uncertain why we're,
Well, we ought to approve an estimate based on the last 12 months. I mean, if it's $100 a month for pumping of the septic tanks.
but I'm just wondering, I mean,
help
the
it.
concern is like if, as a board, you should, the things that you should come prepared are the things that you have questions on. If that's something that you looked at prior, then it's valid asking.
Well, I mean, we
But if
have-
we're
I
asking,
asked this question a month ago.
we have to
That's why I
authorize
thought we had to
all the
We did.
expenses from the library funds that were accountable.
but I mean, you got these detailed information
We
3
did,
weeks ago?
Not for
we
December.
didn't, Tom.
No.
We asked this
Yeah.
question a
Got all
month
these
ago,
things.
we asked this question a month ago, we were told that we would get the information within,
Which
I believe, a
was-
week. And
We did, we
We
got
did,
that,
we
Yeah.
that
got
was
all
good,
these things.
but.
But I think that,
I would have thought there would have been a projection on it.
and I
Not-
guess,
I mean,
and I guess, Julie, not to, and I totally understand that now, but I also didn't, once I sent out those, I did not receive any feedback at all back from any board member. So, I mean, I'm sure that's something I could have provided, but I also received no feedback on it too, so I just
And
I
I
didn't
don't-
anticipate that.
I don't know what anybody else did, but what I did is I read through it I read everything. And mostly what I was looking for was the confluence thing, because we had a question about that last time, like, why is this bill so high? So, and I see that it's only a very small portion has been paid already, so that was, I answered my own question.
So is it fair to suggest, and Mike's here, so he can hear the question.
Hot seat now, baby.
Obviously, things like, the city has a quarterly sewer bill, and we're on that now, right? And we don't know what it is.
but I mean, those are the
We're
things,
gonna owe
those
money.
things are general that we don't have to prove. Those are the maintenance things that automatically go through and we don't voucher, they're just automatically done. So the question is, you know, how much did you look at this packet before today's meeting? And how much are we looking through it right after the meeting?
So all I'm saying is, if we haven't covered something, the city's just gonna have to cover it. It's got nothing to do with us.
Yep.
So what's the big deal? I mean, we're gone.
Thanks, Mike.
Glad I could
Do
add.
you like that, Mike?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that is the,
Yeah.
what I'm struggling, I think that the balance, it's not a financial term, but I think the balance is gonna be zero. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, so, but whatever, if you guys are interested in this, you know, I don't know if that's something
Either
you
the
wanted
city-
from me, Steve, or
Either,
not.
no, all I'm saying is either the city's gonna have a little bit of leftover money from the library, which probably from a legal standpoint has to go to the county, because it's a dedicated library fund the state requires, or the library is short and the city fills in the couple $100 or whatever it is that we're short.
I think it's gonna be more than that, depending on what you do tonight.
Yeah.
It's gonna be more than that, we're gonna have to cover.
We're short, we need to
From the agreement that we all made, I believe we'll be short,
Oh, 150.
of the 150, yeah. I think, depends on what comes up
Right.
tonight, but I think we'll be at least 11 short.
I thought this was the,
15?
this was the tier.
Is there anything in here, Nate, that you can point us to that even speaks to the balance?
Of what,
Right here,
like, did
year-to-date,
you, the projection of what you feel it's gonna be at the end,
Yeah,
considering all bills?
I think we are, if Confluence
revenues over.
is paid tonight, I believe we'll be, I think, around $14,000 short of the 150 goal. That's,
And we're gonna get $1,000 in interest,
presumably, yeah.
so that's a 10% improvement.
But is there a sheet that you have somewhere that
I don't have,
shows the balance?
no, I mean, I don't have an up-to-date.
How do you know that, I guess, you know? There must be something that financial
Yeah,
that you've been
and this is just like,
provided.
you know, and I'm making a guesstimate, you know, but I mean, from what I've heard, you know, what I've understood as I've worked through this, and knowing where we were in August, and the efforts that we put in to control costs as best we could, we were looking at, you know, about a $4,000 shortfall of the 150. Now, I didn't include I didn't know about the Confluence charges, so those weren't factored in, so that's,
So then we're looking at like 135 that we're able to turn over, and that the city will have to make up the difference. Okay. Any other financial, I mean, I don't wanna move on if people still have questions on it, but I don't know if we're gonna have any more answers to
Without
that.
seeing it, yeah, like to say, well, my calculation was we'd be at 135, like, let's see the calculation, that's what I was trying to do here.
Yeah.
And, I mean, maybe it seemed tedious, but, I mean, literally, we had 8 lines left, and then we can see, I mean,
8
so-
lines left.
this is done, when you turn the page, there's no more expenses, that's just the total. So,
Well, do you and Judy wanna just keep going forward with that, and then we'll go, if you wanna,
I think,
or do, I mean, can we
I
simultaneously
mean,
approve of vouchers?
what's wrong with this, year-to-date December 5th?
that has nothing to do with our balance, that's our year-to-date net income.
Mhm.
That
That's
doesn't-
no
But
expenditures.
here's the revenues over, under expenditures.
That means
So
what's
it's-
our net income or loss for the year, and it's showing a $14,000 net loss, but you need to know where you started. That's your net loss. To get to your balance, we're not provided with the information to see our balance. That's what I'm trying to get to,
Okay. Well, I don't know.
which is relevant for us as far as wrapping up our operations. I mean, in all honesty, that's what I thought one of the reasons was for scheduling this meeting. And the big question about confluence rolls into that item.
My understanding was that we had some vouchers we need to approve.
Well, let's, I mean, can you two, before, just you two finish that off,
Well,
and we'll go through the vouchers, I mean, if you have just a few more items, right?
Yeah, I really
Can
don't
you do
think we
this?
have much.
Can you do that as we go through? Do you need us to stop to do this? Should we take a break if you do this, or can we go through and finish the vouchers?
You can go through and we can take
And
a
you and
break.
Judy can tabulate. All right, vouchers, can you explain them?
Yeah, do it, break.
Minimal Amazon charges for operating supplies, our last IT payment, and restroom paper.
Motion to approve vouchers.
So moved.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay. All approved.
That's
Before we get into unfinished business, let's just take 5 minutes, and then you can,
Is that without conflict?
yes, before we get to
Okay, yeah.
And
conflict.
then we're doing it separately?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah, conflicts, if you look, it's under 8. So let's take a
Just on our voucher.
5-minute quick break.
We just approve vouchers and conferences.
Judy,
on
you guys
it.
wanna-
So
if
did
people
you
wanna
approve
eat,
that?
Celebrate, take 5 minutes, then we're starting.
Okay.
And then make sure if you have questions on conflicts to read it prior, and then we can go into this,
How did we not just approve
We
conflict
did.
if it's on the page?
you can see it's on a separate.
It's on a separate column, but it's on the same page. We didn't specifically omit that from vouchers when we voted.
Our agenda does.
Yeah.
Not from the information we have.
Yeah. Sure.
Utilities.
Our library taxes are going up 30%. Christie declined. It's 200, it's gonna be 335,000 instead of 256.
I see.
Well, how they make it, the county wants us.
But it's somebody else's money.
No, it's not, it's ours.
Yeah, I don't pay that much in taxes. I pay a lot
They
more
want to do it at the same time.
Well,
They want us to pay for it?
still, it's my money.
So I don't know what the big deal is.
No.
Not anymore.
Well, what's the carryover balance? That's the big thing.
79,000 more. We pay, we get 40 hours less than we get.
There's a special war.
Can't possibly have had the electric bill yet.
Here was not so clear.
And there's already 11
No,
for the
seriously, I
library.
just don't wanna be here for that.
You know?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And it's, you have to know.
Well, I don't wanna put you in
Share
this spot.
number is in order to figure
So 58, and we're looking at 63 now, so I think they booked another 400 bill, it looks like that's about what it runs, that would make it 12. And we can't possibly, by December 7th, have had our final electric bill done on a meter read basis, has to be based on your usage, so they would have 13 in this year.
But we're not paying for it.
No, but you own the buildings.
But is it coming out of us or is it coming out of the Well, it's coming.
Yeah, sometimes,
You're not paying.
every other week, so sometimes
Whether
we
it's
can
a
do
temporary
more.
prepay for the one.
But it's not gonna be like, but it's not putting us at like 130 and you guys have 120.
The county pays for it, I know that.
So then basically, because we've already approved them to come in and do work that week.
Yep,
we've
one more
approved it.
review.
So why is this any different than that approved work?
I mean,
This is what I know.
carryover balance
I know
is
this.
And I'm not even gonna look at it, okay, well,
Come in and do
is
it.
there
But
something?
I don't
I would
know.
think it because it's a contract. Legalities of it. So.
No, that would be what you started in the year before.
I get those.
It's in the collection.
But this is a general ledger, this here, and it goes by account, you know, so here's
It is
the
specific.
water, utility.
He said, no, he said it's
Subscription.
I can't see, he's here right.
I think that's what we're calling for, is them to do
You
that.
know, I skip over this, I'm shedding.
What are we voting for them to do?
Well, as long as we can get some
Here's his maintenance bill.
But I mean, within that period.
That's what they get. Without here.
I mean, it is.
No.
$79,000 more we're paying next year for the other services.
Oh my God. And Steve's gonna pay because he's got big bucks.
Well, then we're gonna have to do that.
Okay, here.
No. No.
Is it in here?
Yes, so.
Oh, okay, it was up me. Well, that accounts up
Is that the same, and that's the same thing?
It sure is good to see you, though. TV internet, that's good.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying, but are you saying that you want
One of them's in Minneapolis, was working, one of them was.
So since we're done.
Keep it quiet.
Yeah, we got it.
At about 4.
Oh, I missed
This past 2 years,
You know, it's just like, it's like carrying the seats now.
Yeah.
we're not
I told you I was
allowed
gonna
to.
back, so I got back, but.
Next year, we're giving them
Either way, if she doesn't make it, you know, before we close, that's fine.
Oh, is it?
So we're just, we're not overly publicizing, like, basically since we're switching circulation software, but not, you know, but not patron records, is what we're transferring out.
Yeah.
I
Right.
All right.
Maybe you could just answer this, the, subscriptions to magazines and newspapers, is that under collection?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emeritus, that's what, oh, phrase was.
And so,
They kind of sent everybody.
But there's not an account called collection.
Yeah, there is, there should be.
It's not a national.
It's a big one for this.
And I sent it to
For
my,
the big three, yeah, there's not. Oh, there, library collection maintenance.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the actual account called dues and subscriptions. There's a few accounts that
You
they
need
give
more
for
time
this.
or you have it?
I mean, I think close enough, I'm not trying to be exact. How much do we have on the vouchers that we just approved?
1143.78.
1143.78.
Yep.
And the Amazon bill, the program and operating supplies
That's in there.
would be done, like you wouldn't have another one?
I've canceled our Prime membership, so we're
Okay.
actually, we're getting like.
I teach support, you said those are good, and okay, so I have like about $1,000 on those things that I just said, okay, so there'd be one more month of this, one more month of this. We just approved another 1,143, so say that's 2,250 is a very rough estimate, of additional expense. 2,250, so you'd be looking at, so let's say that's 14, a net loss of 16,250, so then the big question is, where did we start?
Yeah, and that is, I wanna say it was 170 some, 173?
I saw that number
Yeah.
somewhere.
I was guessing $174,540, but I don't have all the numbers.
That was the beginning number?
I think the balance was,
Say it one more time for me.
I think the beginning balance was $174,540. And that's why I'm not sure. But the thing is, Julie, is, did you see where they paid for the bathrooms to be redone? Did you find the bathrooms in there? That was one of my questions.
It's in there.
Because it was a,
And carpet in the
what you guys
children's
said
room
was
was a
90 or
300.
100,000.
It's under, building, not maintenance or something, or.
Shane Kahn there is
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna start again.
It was like 99,000.
As we go into unfinished business, we're gonna start with Nate giving us a little update on rejoining Washington County. Whatever update you have.
Yep, so every day, you know, we get a little bit closer. The main things that have been happening this week have dealt with final transfer over of the library's collection to Cersei Dynex, which is the circulation services provider that Washington County uses. That transfer is taking place now. Ebooks will take place next week, which is a much smaller collection, should be a lot simpler of a transaction.
What was that?
Ebooks are
The
next week.
ebooks, okay.
you know, there are, and by and large, I think, you know, we're just knocking off things as they come up.
Will processes change in regards to checking out when it, like ebooks, real books, other things, like as far as her, I mean, it's fine that she can say, stay tuned, processes will change, or, you know, I'm not asking for the details, just.
Well, you know, so there'll be, one of the things that will be installed is a self-check machine, and there will also be self-hold pickup, which is a standard, pretty standard library procedure now, where a patron can pick their own holds, and then either have a library staff person check those items out, or they can check them out themselves. That gives patrons an additional level of privacy, so that if you were, you know, checking out books about divorce or, you know, some other things, you could, you know, you could do that more anonymously. And also, the tags that are, like, currently the hold pickup slips that we print out have the patron's name, phone number, and an email address if we have that on there. This will have much less information, but will be identifiable to the patron. So, you know, for example, in Wisconsin, where I use self-hold pickup, I have the first 2 letters of my first and last name, and then my month and day of birth are on there, and that's those, you know, which, you know, I mean, you could find me, but it would really be a chore. And so those are the kind of things, and you know, and really a lot of the IT and other issues are really being handled on the Washington County side. Another thing I'm going to be doing this week is an inventory of of our physical possessions, not the books, but things like, and not really office supplies, but tables, chairs, piano, you know, furniture, yeah, those kind of things, for the transition, just so that there's an accounting for what's being transferred over.
That points out something I think we all should discuss. The county isn't likely to want to keep a lot of stuff we have. Worked great for us, but the county's got their own system, like maybe those cabinets there, or things the Boy Scouts made. Do we have a process? Can we get a process where we can find good homes for those places?
If,
rather than have the county
just
bring in a dumpster and
yeah,
just fill it?
your worry is that they'll be thrown away.
Yes.
And it is, and that's something I've actually been working with Martha on, is to make sure that as much of our possessions as possible do find homes. You know, some.
I live on Lake Noel, and I just put it up on the,
Right.
and it goes within an hour,
Yeah.
it's gone and somebody's grabbed it. Some of you may have stuff for my house, it goes pretty quickly, you just put it out on the street.
But the Eagle Scout project should go back to the Eagle Scout if the library doesn't want it.
Yeah. But but that's the plan, you know, so we do wanna find, for almost everything that, and really most of everything, you know, most of our stuff is going to be used by Washington County. So, you know, the things that aren't, we are gonna try and find homes for.
Okay.
Did we, I can't remember where the agreement ended up, but did we say that they would return the building and contents to us if they closed? So we do need a physical inventory listing of all contents?
Yeah, that's
that
right,
we will have memorialized?
that's why, yeah, and I can send that out to the board too.
What about
That would be great.
what about a camera? Just, this is it.
That's a good idea too.
It's a good way to add to that list.
Yeah,
Just each
some-
room, picture of each room or something. How about when you're talking about that, Nathan, so the website, right now, you go on the website to get your ebook or, right? So come January 1, will our website be closed down?
Yes.
And so what kind of message will people get?
So, that is one of the things we are, Lake Elmo, if somebody Googles Lake Elmo Library, it will direct you to the Washington County Library's website, so that is a help. And we are working with Washington County, I'm trying to get them to maintain the website for at least a few months so we can redirect. Web hosting is not particularly expensive, so I'm not anticipating that would be a problem, but,
And we probably paid it for a year already.
Well, it's actually up soon, so, so, yeah, I mean, that's sort of our plan, is,
And
one
have
of the
this like
issues.
the explanation thing, right?
Yes,
in
and
the
links to
beginning.
Or
Washington.
just redirects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, like that, I think that's a good question, and it's something that I've brought up, but as it stands now, which, is, again, it's like $120 away from, not going away, or whatever, so.
Who would change the website then? Them?
Oh,
To say, Lake
Yeah, we
Elmo
could-
is now part of the
well-
Washington County Library System, and this,
right, well, like,
website
Shelley
is
or I
no
could,
longer
Shelley or I
valid.
could redirect
You
it too, yeah, I mean, that's, it is, yeah, it's,
I mean, we'll do the best we can with all of this, but there are gonna be people that are,
yeah.
that comment.
Well, as long as
say,
it
"What is
redirects, I mean, if you change the website and it redirects to the new website.
Mm-hmm.
what will the new website be? That's something that Judy could
It's-
put in her letter?
It's
so-
gonna
It's
be
the
Washington
Washington County.
County's website.
Their full
Yeah.
website.
Because you go on Washington County and you can, I mean, I've done, because I did get my card, and I reserve a book, put a book on hold. I did that all myself. And then you can see where you are in the queue, and you also choose where you have the book delivered to. If you're gonna do a hard
So
time.
you go to Washington County and you choose like library services on their main huge
Yeah.
website, it's not a
Yeah.
search,
Yeah.
special
Search
one for
for
libraries.
books.
It'll just be the same that everybody else in Washington County does.
No, so.
I get that.
it
My
probably-
question is it part
No,
of Washington
no,
County's website, or is there a separate one for the library?
There's a
Yeah.
separate one.
Yeah.
It's a separate one.
Okay. So that's what,
Oh, yeah.
In computer programming
Yeah,
terms,
I mean,
it's
that's kind of
actually
on that,
part of the
right?
county. But as far as the user experience is
that's
concerned,
its own www.
Like Washington County Library System.org.
Something like that, okay. It's washington.county.mn.
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say .mn.uco.
Okay, so we'll wanna just tell them what that website is
Mhm,
and that.
mhm.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, I know.
especially
I've been using it.
Washington
No, it's
County.
just, but
We
because
got
it's a physical change.
7 Washington counties in the country.
Yeah, it's a whole.
I know, you can't use it. The other thing though is people are gonna have to get a new car.
Yes.
Everybody
Well,
will.
apparently everybody's been waiting to for 5 years, so
Yeah.
it shouldn't be a big deal. I have no
Okay, so
sympathy.
you will need to get a new
And-
car,
and
that'll be
just-
part of the
I
letter.
do.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And is there, you said they're coming over to do cards sometime?
They did last night.
Oh, they did,
Yep.
okay.
Oh, also, our last library program of the year, just wanna quick say this, we did our gingerbread house
Oh, yeah.
making. Anyone who wants one, we have leftovers here.
Oh,
So if you want either a finished house or a kit, you know,
oh,
totally
Oh, I
cool.
totally want a kit.
Okay.
Pick that up.
No fun for your kids.
Come grab your kid, bring it over here.
oh, cute.
Yeah, everyone but Emily has a legitimate claim.
Nate, somebody from the audience suggested that when you get your list of inventory items and photographs,
Yeah.
maybe they go to like Julie Johnson over in the city,
Oh.
so that she can put them in a
Sure.
file that stays with the city.
Yep,
That makes sense.
that's a good idea.
So moving on to B, you all in the email, basically it was found that, so the library's gonna be closed December 23rd through January 2nd, which gives 4 work days, the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, unless they're gonna be working on Saturdays. So the stuff that we approved to get done was what? What did we say was gonna happen during that week?
IT, work.
So then if you notice that the county also, they found lead in the old bathrooms and they wanted to abate it, which means that they would have to have our approval to be able to come in here and do this, but it would be all during that same time. We're not talking about closing any earlier, we're not talking about closing them next week. But they still need approval to be able to come in and do it.
I'll have
So-
a comment on that for just a second.
So this is a motion, do you
It's
have a motion
amazing-
or?
It's amazing that they found this, and in the basement, they didn't find any apparently. The bathrooms have ceramic tile up to here, so the kids that eat the stuff are gonna be about this high with their hands outstretched. We've got at least one coat, probably 2 coats of paint on the walls. The ceilings are just tile, and we're talking $12 a square foot.
But this isn't coming out
This-
of our piece, this will be onto their budget.
Well, guess what? We're
Well, I
watching
realize that, but-
taxpayers, and this is.
But all we're doing is,
This is like,
Approve it.
they're not gonna run this place with it in there.
for-
So all we need to do is we need to set a motion to
Okay.
approve it.
I move that we approve the county coming in during that time to do the
Abate.
Second.
lead abatement.
Second.
Mike?
But my comment would be that the guy spent $1,500 going through this building. He had to come up with something.
Nice.
I mean, really. I mean, that is, I walked in there a few minutes ago and
Yeah.
it's
So-
just silly.
I think the rub is
Steve,
that
did
they've
you-
gotta do some work on it, and
Yeah.
they've gotta, drill holes through it or whatever to get the cable and stuff, and that's what,
Yeah.
that's the problem.
But
that's
it's
just
for little
what I-
kids, they're this high.
No,
I
he's
know,
talking
but
about
they don't have
it
a,
gets
you know,
exposed, he's
lead,
talking about
so-
it gets exposed because they're having to go in.
I appreciate you considering that, I mean, they wanna get in and get that done.
Yeah.
So then they can do the IT, but the thing is,
Yeah.
I think it's a longer window than what, if it's 4 days that you're closed for, I think
Yeah.
it might take longer.
I
than
think
that.
they said it
just
can
want
get
you to
done
be
3.
aware. I thought it was 4 and 2.
Oh.
Unfortunately, my
Well,
phone's
for
down.
contractors,
Who is-
quite frankly, the 26th isn't a holiday for those type of folks. They
Did
have
you
one
second
for
it?
working
Did you
days.
second the
Yeah.
motion? Okay.
So all in favor of the county having access to the building to do the abatement during this time, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Yep.
I don't wanna plug it up, but I'm just, if it takes longer than that, because I've heard 4 days and then 2 days to check. I don't know if that poses a wrinkle to you.
We're not gonna meet again, so guess what? We don't care.
Well, you should, because I think it's going to, if you allow them to come in and do it, I think you'll have an earlier start time. It's gonna take a week no matter what, so I
An
think by
earlier
allowing them to
start
come
time?
in.
Oh.
In other words,
you're
they
saying-
gotta do it, so you
Mhm.
want to let them do it now, because nothing else can be going on in the building, the way I understand it,
Mhm.
if, while they're doing it.
Right,
So if
yeah.
you want to get that, because then the IT can get done, and my understanding is, there's gonna be that delay, it's Newfoundland, and they wanna get ahead of the thing and get it so everybody can have.
No, they'll just put a little curtain in front. My neighbor did the entire ceiling of the airport. The entire ceiling was asbestos. My neighbor had the job to get rid of the asbestos, and guess what?
Okay,
Thousands of
Alright,
people went
never-
through
let's-
the airport.
Moving,
I'm just gonna,
Moving
listen,
on.
guys,
Moving right along.
We are taking comments from the audience, Jen. Motion is passed and we're moving on.
okay.
I just,
Our
bear with me,
director
if I
said
had the
it's
floor
20
just for a second,
You don't?
I don't think that you, if the chair wants to shut me down, he can, I
Mike,
just.
I think if it ends up taking longer, as long as we're not closing earlier into our time, and if it ends up closing into their time, that is gonna be their problem, that is not our problem. And I think we all, is that what you're asking us?
All I'm saying is I wanna make it clear that I believe this project's gonna take longer than if you said you're gonna be closed for 4 days. then
Well, I think it's 2 to 3 days for the IT stuff.
Oh.
Is that what you said?
Oh, maybe that's, okay.
We are closed the 23rd.
The question is, if it takes longer,
We are closed the 20.
we're saying it won't come out of our
6th,
time.
7th, 8th, 9th.
It'll be a later,
We were.
Start.
Then I just want the board to
Open on the
know
second?
That's
that
our
if
hope.
you're not, in essence,
closed for
if
9
my
days.
theory is correct, that won't work for them, this little
Mhm.
time frame, then I think you're prolonging their opening.
yes.
Which if
We-
that's their
well-
time and our time, I don't really get that.
They're
But you're gonna have a long-
Mhm.
No,
Okay,
that's
we
what
can
I
say it's
heard
their,
from
we
our
can say it's
library
them, but I'm telling you,
is that they
you have an
said this could be done
opportunity
in
to
3
maybe
days.
make it quicker in January. And I think that's what you should consider, but it's up to the board.
Did they give us a letter saying what they'd like us to do?
Nate, did they
And
say,
did-
Nate, did
I
they say
thought I
it would
read
take
it.
3 days?
Just, yeah,
I,
reported
I
it would
thought it
take
was,
3.
and again, Mike, I could be wrong, and I, you know, so I don't wanna, I thought I'd heard that it's, they would get it done in 3 days. But I could, but again,
Do you have an email?
Here it is.
Why
Well,
don't
we
you check?
can't
What
be
are they
making
asking?
decisions on assumptions.
so.
Well, I
We were
think you
closed
can.
for
Okay,
9
here's the thing.
days.
I am hopeful the Lake Elmo Library Board will see the value in moving forward with the contract for abatement during the week of December 26th through 29 time frame, as they have already scheduled the library closed for that week for the transition.
Yep.
So that's what they're asking us to do.
That's
I hear in a week, but then I heard you saying
No.
you're closed for 3 or 4.
Well, yeah, they give us the dates.
During the 26th through 29th time frame. We just
Sure.
gave that to him in our motion, let's move on forward.
I don't know what the hurry is, I'm just telling you, I think it's 4 days and 2 days.
Okay.
6
All
days.
right.
I think you just approved a meaningless thing because they won't start.
No, we've approved that during the time that we're closed, that they have, I thought we had said that they were looking for, they had to have us approve for them to be able to come in during that time that we're closed. Is that what you assume?
It was my understanding when I talked to the Washington County people yesterday that they would be able to start on the 26th.
And I know they'll be able to start, it's when they'll be able to be done.
Well, yeah, and
And I've
that's,
heard 4 and I've heard 2
Okay.
to check, so my only concern is if they're not able to finish it in that sweep, which I don't think they will be able because it's lead. So then you're not, we're gonna get a delayed start, whoever we wanna blame it on.
We had been gracious enough to allow the last week of the libraries, being Lake Elmo Public Library, to be given over to Washington County. We had discussed making that the first week in January so that it would be on Washington County. The board voted to be gracious enough to give them that week, and we have been, and I think that that's sufficient. If they need to use more time, that would be their time.
Nowhere in this email is it saying he's asking for more time, that he needs more time.
But they don't
So I
have
don't.
to, they don't have to have the patrons out when they're doing lead work. It's just
Well,
very
I
minimal.
don't,
I would think.
I think you
Mike,
should
I don't-
show
I
some
don't-
wiggle
I-
room, it's up to you.
I think what we're saying is that we're not gonna close any earlier, if that's what you think they're asking. If they wanna go into their time further and they have to announce it's not opening January 2nd, then that's the situation that happens. And I don't, that's kinda where we.
Yeah.
where
And
we are
nowhere
right
have they
now.
asked us to do that.
No.
They told us specifically what they want us to
They told
do.
us
And
specifically.
we voted to do
We
it.
hope
Hey,
they let us
hopefully it'll
do
work out.
this.
All right, let's go on to the confluence invoice.
Okay,
Let's hold to our rule of no comments from the,
Yeah, I will.
or during items.
Yeah.
Nate,
Yep.
you have the update.
yeah, so in the board packet, I
Miraculously, the mayor knows more
included
than
okay.
I included a email from Brett Aldrich from Confluence, as well
Greg's open
as
comment.
um,
He said it at the beginning.
the contract with Confluence,
I wanted to
and then the invoices and in those invoices that Brad also provided some notes, some explanatory notes to go along with that. And that's, that is what's before the board today. This is, of course, a project that is not being completed. But it, it does seem that
Well, we
Confluence is
approved it.
Yeah.
I mean.
But go back to how much, like, we approved with a limit, right? And what was the limit that we kind of approved it
So,
for?
in the minutes from the library board meeting, it was approved to the limit of the contract. And that was approved at, I believe, the May 2016 library board meeting.
I have all that information
Okay.
right here.
You do, good for you.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay,
Board
Since-
ready, right here.
Since our last meeting, when I brought up my concerns about this, I spent an awful lot of time trying to research the facts here and draw some sort of conclusion, which I failed to draw a conclusion. I think I'm more confused than when I started on this project. I got records from Amy at the city, and we've paid Confluence so far a total of $17,144.20. And we've paid Emmons and Oliver Resources $1,000 for coordinating parking lot design.
When was the date on that 17,000? Does it have it?
There's 3 separate payments. The most recent one was for the parking lot bid publishing, 9/19 of this year was $358. The other 2 are 1/19 of 2016 for green parking lot plan, $3,500, and 10/4 of 2016 parking lot design work, $13,285.76.
So those are the year before.
Yes.
And there were probably one other one, we authorized them, if my memory is correct, and it's not always, up to 5,000 thing, it'd be a lot less than 5,000.
For
To do the front.
the front,
of the building.
absolutely, and I found all that. I asked Nate for information, up at City Hall I got a lot of information. In fact, I got more information than I even wanted. I needed to find a copy of the contract we have with Confluence, and I found there was 2 of them. One is dated May 3rd of 2016, in a total contract amount of $9,525. We had that, or I wasn't here then, you had that contract in your packet for the May 11th, 2016 meeting. There is another contract that Confluence was using that's dated May 16th, almost 2 weeks later. The total on that contract is $19,525, so another $10,000 somehow got put into the second contract, and I wasn't here. I'm not aware of where it came from in the minutes.
I do
though.
have some explanation, I believe, of what happened. We started out with one version of the parking lot. When the trees were all removed, we started out with the second version of the parking lot to take care of the open water space that was no longer going to exist. From there, we went on to a separate design for the side of the building to have green space and rooms and pathways and things. And another portion of it was to design the front of the building. So we did have, I would say, 4 different configurations that we worked with over time.
And as Steve said, I found another one of those additions in the June 2016 meeting where you approved $5,000 to design.
Or not to exceed.
And you
Not
might
to
be,
exceed.
now, I don't recall dates, but you might be looking at those 2 dates that are rather close to each other. We had someone come out from Confluence and put on a slideshow for us and give us options. Do we want to go this way or do we want to go that way? And we made decisions based on that. And you're probably looking at an increase in the contract based on that.
Okay, so I found the contracts and we have some amounts. We did have a contract with Confluence. We've established that, we know that.
Okay.
Now, we come to where we got invoiced for the work that was in the contracts. We have an invoice of $11,008.61. If you look at the invoice, it's actually a combination of 2 invoices. One dated from May of 2017 this year, one dated June from 2017 this year. The June one is for less than the May one. That makes sense because in our June 14th board minutes, Nate had said that the project was out to bid and it's pretty much completed. So halfway through June, it's already gone out to bid, so it makes sense that the June bill is smaller than the May bill. These 2 bills confuse me because both of them have line items on them going back to September 6th of 2016. The June bill goes back to October 5th of 2016. So our last meeting, we were using an analogy when talking about the transition from our library to the county of if you were selling a house and you were transitioning over. The best analogy I can give for these invoices is if you were paying for a service at home, lawn mowing or whatever, and you'd paid somebody in 2016 to mow your grass and you thought you'd been paying your bill, and you paid them in 2017, and here we are winter, so you assume everything's done and paid and current, and now your lawn mowing company comes back and says, well, you owe us for 2016 still, you owe us some money from there. And you'd be saying, how can that be? I've been paying all along and we should be current. So I don't dispute that we owe Confluence money, but I'm unsure of the amounts of these invoices as to.
So you're saying it's double, it's on some, have you looked at the exact hours, or like their exact hours on both invoices?
The hours on the invoices are from different days, but both invoices, May of 17 and June of 17, have hours going back into September of 16. So from not this last fall, but the fall before that, 2016, we're being billed for. And at this point, I don't know how anybody's even sure that those are accurate billings. You know, most companies bill, you know, within a month or, you know, maybe 2 or something, and you would be pretty fresh as to what that was for. But we're being asked to approve something that's from over a year previous. So the best conclusion I can come from this is it's really irregular billing practices that we're seeing here. So I'm not disputing that we owe Confluence money, but I'm unsure that these amounts that we owe are accurate.
I remember the question that we had, or I had last time, was whether, you know, the whole contract and all the stuff included doing the work itself, and none of that ever got done. So was any of that included in some of these hours?
I think this was all just design work, and
Okay,
I don't think it
All right.
included any.
yeah, on-site construction.
But you don't feel that there's anything double billed? Like on the exact hours on both things?
I don't think there's anything double billed, but I think there's hours from over a year ago
Sure,
that
but I
we're
mean, we
really
can't-
unsure about.
That, I mean, it's an odd practice.
Yep.
You and I agree, but if, as long as we feel there's not double billing, I don't know what we can do. So,
It's odd, and it's probably in violation of the standard contract, but the other aspect is that, and we had Brett doing the details on this. In order to do it, when you do a not-to-exceed contract, which is very, very common, because when dealing with a group like us, the engineer or architect says, I don't know where these guys are gonna go. We'll do a certain amount, and we'll do it for less than $20,000. If we hit $20,000, everything beyond that is on us. But we'll provide what we think you want. If you want to add to it, we'll deal with that. But you have to have hourly billings from the employees and their wages, and what the markup is, like they might have a 20% markup on the employees' wages. And if you don't have those timesheets, you don't know what the actual costs were that they were incurring.
Well, they can't, they're in the packet here.
so, but if we go back to the
So it has the
original.
individuals
Yeah.
and their,
Right.
So if we go back to the original of how much we approved, and you said do not exceed, are we still with it?
I
Is this
think we're
outside of-
within just barely.
And then, like if Nate, you met with Brett, I mean, what more information that doesn't, like, how is he explaining that these bills are coming off so long? Is it like quickly they're going, we need to quickly get them these bills? Or is there some reason why their bills are so off?
I got no explanation as to, like, I mean, in terms of like, well, in terms of like, I guess, can you, about the quickly part, I mean, you mean like before they close, we gotta get,
Well, it sounds like, yeah, if they went back and tried to look through all their hours and quickly find hours that they didn't
Okay.
bill us, because starting in January, they're not gonna be able to bill it.
right, and, or they'd have to go to the city directly and, you know, which,
I found that pretty odd considering that we'd gotten a bill for publishing